up, guys? How you doing? Welcome to Bid Nerd, your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day from all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. Thanks for hanging out with us and nerding out with us, because that's what we do. And who is us? Us is, man, I am having some fun with the English language this morning. My name is John Polnik. We record this show every day from the Container Park in downtown Las Vegas. Come and visit us at the Rami Studio in the beautiful downtown Las Vegas, along with my partner Michael Deeb, who is not here in Las Vegas. Michael Deeb, where the heck are you at?
San Francisco, and the sun is out, JP. First time in 2 weeks.
Look at that. Who cares about the weather? We are here to talk about some cars. We dig through all the automotive enthusiast auction sites like P-Car Market, Bring a Trailer, I don't know, whatever other else ones, Cars and Bids. We find the most interesting car of the day. We have a little bit of a conversation about that car. We make a prediction as to what we think is going to happen with its auction. And then, on this very episode, you're going to see what actually happens on the auction. Yes. You get to see if Michael Deeb's prediction is right, if my prediction is right, or maybe you were right. Play along. Let us know what you think about the car that we talk about today will do in its auction. Let's get after it right now. What are we talking about today, Michael Deeb?
JP, check it out on, what is it, Bring a Trailer? Yeah, Bring a Trailer. It's always on Bring a Trailer, isn't it? Okay, here's my premise for this car. If you're a hardcore Porsche collector, there are a couple of off-brand cars I think you owe it to yourself to seek out and add to your collection to make your collection Bid Nerd cool. One of which is the Mercedes-Benz 500e, because Porsche designed the suspension for it. And the other car is this car, a 1995 Audi RS2 Avant. A car that was only ever sold in Europe. But they are now eligible on the 25-year exemption to bring into the United States and drive on American roads on a, sort of limited license plate. So you can now enjoy a car that had previously, for the 2.5 decades before us, been unobtainable. You can now bring these cars in. And our friends down at, what do we call these guys? We're going to call them the Motor Curator in Miami, Florida, have imported this calendar year. In fact, just in May, they brought in this 80,000 kilometer, which equates to about 49,000 miles, RS2 Avant. With low miles and in pretty spectacular condition. They kind of went through the car, touched up the paint, and did a major service. I think, JP, you'll appreciate this. They put KW coilovers on the car, so when you look at the car, John, you'll see there's no gap between the tire and the fender lip. I think they did a really nice job setting up this car. A lot of these cars, John, were in like a black metallic or that Nogaro blue. It's very rare that you see one in this bright, I think it's something red. What the hell they call it? Hurricane red or something. I forget the name of it. I used to have an Audi that was that same shade. But it looks really good in this color. Other pieces of equipment that you might notice, along with the 6-speed manual running through a Quattro all-wheel drive system, the drivers and passenger seats are made by Recaro. The brakes are Porsche branded Brembo big red brakes, tucked neatly under Porsche's Cup ones from that era. You remember all the 964 and some of the 968s ran the Cup ones, and that's what's in the car. Just a sick car. It's a very unusual 2.2 liter inline 5 with 20 valves. The turbocharged motor makes about 311 horsepower and a 300 pound-foot of torque. So this car can get out of its own way. Super neat car. I've never driven one. I've always been a massive fan of the car. I've always wanted one. I think if you collect Porsches and you can afford to get one, this would round out your collection and make it, I think, super cool. It's also worth noting that all the stuff that Porsche put on the car, these cars were assembled in Zuffenhausen, which is Porsche's plant, not Audi's. So real neat collaboration between these two brands that have historically been weirdly close, like cousins, even though they normally operate in different parts of Germany. But these cars assembled in Zuffenhausen, it gives you a sense of the pedigree and Porsche's heavy-handed influence over the way this car came out. This was, in my opinion, all the cars that Audi made previously, especially in our country. This car was sort of a tour de force of technology and performance, and executed a high standard with incredible results. These cars were really, really fast and handled really, really well. And with the wagon, actually super practical for just about anybody in the world. And since then, every time Audi's made a performance car, the world has taken it seriously. I really feel like this car sort of stamped Audi's place on the performance map, and the brand has been looked at differently since then. These cars have gained a lot in notoriety over the years. They're kind of legendary, and we don't see them on their shores very often. So this is a really cool opportunity to own one that's sitting on a Florida title. So JP, any experience, any opinion on the RS2 Avant?
Well, I think the car from the era, like you mentioned, the relationship between Audi and Porsche, this comes from kind of a magical time before the Cayenne, before the Macan, before Porsche was making cars for everyone else, you know, people who weren't necessarily sports car people, or people that were sports car people but needed to, you know, shuttle around some kids or a car seat or some groceries and stuff. Nowadays, you can get your GT3 and you can park a Macan GTS next to it. This is a car that absolutely matches a 964. If you had a 964 Speedster or something like that in your you had 2 slots in your garage, you'd have this and you have, you know, a 964 3.6 turbo or something like that. How badass would those two cars look next to one another?
JP, if you or I had won the lottery in Monterey this year, one of the auction houses has got a one of 3 in the world turbo look 964 Speedster, a wide body 964 Speedster, ironically in Gars red with black seats. So the car you're looking for is actually in the marketplace this month, and you can get both cars if you got the checkbook. You can get both cars and park them side by side in JP's Dream Nerd Garage.
I'm pretty sure if either one of us had won the $1 billion lotto that just happened, whichever one of us who had would hire a better partner to do this show. That said, a wide body 964 964 Speedster, so they didn't make them. So that means it's an aftermarket. One of 3. It was a real one. They actually made them. Oh, I wasn't aware. Wow, that's great. Okay, well, that's the way to go. That car's going to bring some money. I don't know. This car is pretty neat. I've never driven one, no. But I've driven lots of Audis from the era, and with the, you know, the turbos and that engine's pretty good. I don't know if I've driven one with this specific engine because I've never driven an RS2 of any type. So I don't know, man. I love this thing, would want it, but I don't know if I'd want to pay for it. This is going to bring some money, yeah?
Big money. JP, really cool stuff. Again, Audi's first 6-speed manual. I think it's Audi's first 20-valve head. This car really get up and go. At the moment, John, our car is sitting at $70,000 on 13 bids. I think this particular car has a chance to break $100,000 because it's here and it's on a Florida title. So I'm going to predict, I'm going big, but I'm going to predict $110,000 for this low-mile RS2.
Oh, boy, that is one hell of a car. It's funny, you know, I actually own an R8 with a V10, and my car is actually on Bring a Trailer right now, guys. Actually, if you're watching this show, it may have been closed by now. But that said,
That's true, yeah.
You know, which of these two cars will bring more money?
Interesting.
A 2011 V10 Spider in Porsche Speed Yellow from the factory with 30-something thousand miles, or this old banged-up piece of junk RS2. I'm kidding. It's not a banged-up piece of junk. It's actually a beautiful car. But, yeah, it's pretty...
Can I answer that? I think if your car had a manual, it would bring more money than this car. But because your car is the single clutch, I think this RS2 is going to bring more money than your car ultimately yields. However sad that might be.
Yeah. So your bid for this was what?
$110,000. I'm going big on that too.
Yeah, I'll go under. I don't think it's going to break 100. I'm going to say 99.
That's probably a good bid. But I hope you're wrong. I want to win.
This is a pretty dope car. This is a terrible driving video, but, you know, whatever, you guys are watching what's going on here. All right, well, what do you guys think? Am I off? Which would you rather have, an R8 V10 or this really cool classic shooting brake wagon. I don't know, man. I'm kind of like going, I don't know which one I'd rather drive. These are both pretty darn bad A. But tell us in the comments below, which do you think is the better car? Actually, forget that. What do you think this car will sell for? Which one of us is right? Which one of us is wrong? We will find out, I don't know, right after this. Okay, guys, I want to tell you about Vegas Auto Fest. The drivers are coming. This is one of our big sponsors. It's the biggest car show of the year in Las Vegas. It's one of the coolest car shows you can possibly experience anywhere. If you haven't made plans to be part of Vegas Auto Fest on September 17th, then do it now. Go to vegasautofest.com and register your car. You think you're a car enthusiast? Doesn't matter where you live. Plan a trip to Vegas on September 17th and come out and see this show. It's like Monterey Car Week all in a day. Have you ever been to the Quail? Have you ever been to Works Reunion? Have you ever been to Amelia Island? All those car shows are amazing and great. Have you been to Luftkult? Sure, but Vegas Auto Fest is something special. Make a plan for September 17th. We'll see you in Vegas. Welcome back, everybody, to Bid Nerds, your daily nerd on the most interesting cars of the day and all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. It's like this show. It's a bunch of shite. Because you guys aren't sharing the nerd. You got to spread the word. Share a nerd. Hit the subscribe, like, and notification button right now. What are you doing, man?
JP,
why aren't people sharing the show? They're watching, but they're not sharing.
Spread the word. Share a nerd. Grow the herd.
Look at that. That is 3 times rhyme. Oh my gosh, this is just going off the rails real quick. This show is shite. I don't know why anyone watches, but we do appreciate you for doing so. Those 4 people out there. Hey, we're talking about a really cool Audi. You guys got to sit there, watch a commercial for 60 seconds, come back to the nerds, and boom, you get to see how much this car sold for. Pretty much right now, whereas we had to wait a week. We are time travelers here for you. What happened with this spectacular 4-door shooting brake Audi?
JP, these guys in Miami, is it Miami? Yeah, these guys in Miami imported this car earlier this year. This is a 1995 Audi RS2 Avant that was built in Zuffenhausen by the people at Porsche. And first of all, I can't remember seeing one in red. I think it looks actually really hot in red, especially with the Porsche Cup 1 wheels and the Brembo Porsche branded brake calipers. This is a gorgeous looking car. You remember they put on KW suspension. It went big, JP. I thought this car was going to bring all the money. I feel like I was right. I said $110,000. You took the under at $99,000. I was reading the Ferrari result. So my bid was $110,000. Your bid was $99,000. Our car sold on Bring a Trailer for $103,000. But wait for this, JP. 44 bids. Can you imagine that there's 44 people out there? Probably not 44 people, but obviously a couple people were fighting over this car and drove that price up over $100,000, which is probably a high watermark for an RS2 in North America. That's a pretty big result. This is relatively low miles. It's a new import, and it looks like it's been gone through and set up correctly. Again, John, for the second time, you and I straddled the bid. I went a little bit over, you went a little bit under. I'd say we were all over this result. It's an excellent result. The consignor has to be happy, and for sure, the guy who bought this car is probably jumping for joy because he won it, and there was a lot of action on the car. So congratulations to everybody involved. JP, you beat me again.
This car, people are talking about things like recession and changes in the market and softening and corrections and all blah 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 blah, but $100,000 for an old Audi wagon, how nuts is that? I mean, this car, at the time we're recording, by the time you watch this, I'm sure my Audi R8, which is available on Bring a Trailer, will have closed by then, but there's no way my R8 is going to bring as much money as this.
Yeah.
95. What is this? 95? I mean,
95.
Heck, man.
Yeah.
This car, look, I don't even like Audis. I've said it before in many episodes. I like, and I just have like a weird spot. Audis to me, just the reliability concerns that they've always had over the years just drive me nuts. And I always feel like, well, why wouldn't you just get a BMW if you're going to get something slightly better than a Volkswagen, but not a Porsche? Get rear wheel drive, and especially in this particular era. But this car is really fantastic. I can't believe 6 figures for something that doesn't say R in front of it. If it's not an R8, it's not, and it's Audi. Well, I mean, yeah, you're right. Good point.
This is sort of the godfather of all the R line in a lot of ways. And again, I was saying before the break that I think this car really put Audi on the map as a performance manufacturer. But the thing that made it so interesting to me, and I thought you'd get a kick out of it, is, all the cool parts of this car came from Porsche, and the car was assembled in Zuffenhausen. So when Audi needed to go, into the phone booth and put on the cape, they asked Porsche to dress them, and I thought that was really interesting. So a very neat car. It's kind of a footnote in Audi's history. Is it a reliable car? I really don't think so. The 90 platform were never really good cars, but I think a lot of the cool pieces on this were hand built. They're supposed to be a hoot to drive. I don't know if I'd want to own one, though. I think it'd be cool to round out your Porsche collection, but you're talking about something that a millionaire could afford to keep this car reliable, or the maintenance that would be required to keep this car on the road. But for the lay person, the everyday man like you and me, this is not the car for us.
I mean, watching this thing drive down the road, no one thinks this thing's special unless you are a nerd like us. And, right. I get that. I get the appeal of a car that kind of is under the radar and is only appreciated to a handful of people. But that is so hipster. I mean, you just need a twisty mustache or something to drive this car. I mean, people watching it, the average Joe is going to think like, oh, gosh, you're poor. You can't afford a nice car. This looks like a $6,000 Craigslist special to the average person. It does not look good.
The average Joe is going to be like, man, that new GTI is funny looking.
Yeah. Not to knock the car, but I don't see spending 6 figures on something like this.
I actually think the new GTI is actually bigger than this car. I think the Mark 8 Golf is larger than that RS2.
Yeah, there might be some truth to that. It'd be great to park the two next to one another. What do you guys think? Do you think it's nuts to spend this kind of money on a unold Audi like this? Or do you think that was a deal? Do you think this car should have sold for more? Do you think that the market is softening and this should have been a $150,000 car? Let us know in the comments below, but do that right after you subscribe if you haven't already.
JP, let me throw one more at you. $103,000 for this all-wheel drive Audi is more money than you sold your 993 C4 earlier this year with less miles. How's that grab you? Does that put that result in perspective? That is a bonkers number.
Mind-boggling right there. That makes absolutely no sense.
Your car had less than 40,000 miles on it, if I recall, and it was correct. A beautiful Varioram version, right? You had a 96 or 97.
Yeah.
C4 911 993 with spectacular miles and condition. Yeah, and polar silver, right?
Yep.
Oh, that's crazy.
I mean, but there it is, right? I mean, there's certain cars that just wind up in garages. This is not a car this is not your first 6-figure car, right? If someone buying something special like this, it's just in the mix of a bunch of other really cool stuff. Nobody's buying this as their first cool car, or are they? I mean, maybe they're. Yeah, gosh, I don't know. Who knows? Yeah. I gotta move on from this car before I say something not nice about it. I do really like it, but $104,000 is just bonkers. Again, let us know what you guys think. Put it in the comments below, and let's see you guys tomorrow.